Do you struggle with trusting God in areas like what you do for work? Do you wish sometimes there was a super simple plan laid out for you in terms of how you are supposed to spend your time, have activities? Today on the Possibility Mom Live, I'm unpacking a challenging conversation I had with my spiritual director on the topic of what it looks like to quote unquote work for God. So, this is a very I don't know. This is an interesting topic. And so I'm just going to share with you exactly what happened today. So I have every 3 weeks, approximately, a meeting with my spiritual director, who is a Catholic priest in the Diocese of Toronto in Canada. And I have been meeting with him as a spiritual director for about, I want to say, 5 years. And essentially, what a spiritual director means is it's a practice in the Catholic faith where it's available really to anybody who wants it, lay people, religious, anybody, where you can meet with a spiritual guide. Doesn't always have to be a priest. There are many religious, there are many lay people who are trained in spiritual direction, where their sole job or the purpose of their role is to coach you in a sense in your spiritual walk. And so I love my time with him. He is a very challenging man. Father Damien, you are all kinds of challenging. Maybe one day I'll bring him on a guest on this show. That would be all kinds of fun. And today I was blabbering on about some challenges that I'm just experiencing in regards to my work. Again, just leaving out the details, just some, I would say, quote unquote regular challenges: money, time, energy. What am I supposed to be doing? Feeling confident, and I was just explaining a couple of different scenarios and what have you. So he kind of pauses me. He's giving me some guidance. He's asking me some questions. And at one point in the conversation, I've clearly been blabbering on a lot. He stops me and he just says, "Lisa, who do you work for?" And I was like, "Oh, like I'm a independent contractor with the women's school, like da 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 da." And then he asked me again, "Lisa, who do you work for?" And I was like, "I'm an entrepreneur. I work for myself." He was like, "Lisa, who do you work for?" And I just was like, "Father Damien, I don't know how else to explain this to you. I'm an entrepreneur. I create value for others in exchange for money. Like, I work for myself." And he kind of just stopped, looked at me in the screen via Zoom, and was like, "Nope, Lisa, you work for God." Now, I need to pause here just in case you're not familiar with my story. I know many of you are familiar. I was born and raised Catholic. My faith became a lot more serious or a lot more personal, I would say, in late high school, early college. I had a very unique experience with the Holy Spirit at a retreat. That's a whole other story. But from then on out, the faith for me became very personal. And especially as I got married, I ended up, I want to say I saw a spiritual director from maybe baby number 3 onwards. So I was about 27 or so when I started to see a spiritual director. And so I would say for sure in my late 20s when my faith became just like, more serious or whatever you want to call it. And so this whole concept of integrating, God in my life, what that looks like in practice, has always been something that I have in my adulthood contemplated or cared about or thought about. It's important to me to have different practices like going to mass regularly, all these things. And, I know many Catholics listen to and engage with my content, although I know there are many who are not. But this has just been a thing in my life that I have been navigating what this looks like, and also what it looks like to be a Catholic in a very modern world. What does it look like to be a Catholic in a time when you can, talk on your phone like all the live long day, showing up on things like Instagram and whatnot? What does it look like to live your faith authentically? What does it look like to integrate your faith even in non-faith based things? All the things. So all this to say, then when he said this phrase, you work for God, it was very challenging to me. But it was also very freeing in the sense, because when you contemplate that and when you kind of unpack that, and that's what I really want to do today, right here, right now, I just want to unpack, what does this look like? Like, what does it look like, quote unquote, to work for God, especially when you are not in a, like, for example, a role at a church or a role at a school or in some kind of a thing where you are literally preaching the gospel, like where you're literally opening your mouth. And so I definitely want to say, before I launch into a couple of thoughts on this topic, that I'm coming at this from a Catholic lens 100%, but there are things about what I think I'm going to share that would apply to all, whether you have faith in your life or whether you have a different worldview than mine. I do think that there are things that we can agree on in what I'm about to share, but I'm definitely coming at this from my Catholic lens. So because again, I work in the world of personal development and business coaching. That is primarily what people come to me for. They primarily come to work with me in human formation, like how to have better time management, how to organize their homes better, how to gain more clarity in their dreams and how they use, how they take action. I do that primarily through the Women's School content, where I work with people in small groups and one-on-one. And then I work with people in a business capacity where we figure out money together. We figure out building your platform, and we figure out what that looks like for you in the midst of busy mom life, where you do not want to sacrifice your faith, your family, or what matters most to you. And so it was very challenging to be like, you work for God, because I'm not talking about working for a church or working for a school or working in this sort of quote unquote formal capacity, where you are literally, evangelizing or literally teaching people about God. What does it look like to quote unquote work for God, especially when you are in a different kind of field? So I want to unpack a couple of things with you right now that have come to mind for me. And again, I'm working through this in real time, to be honest. So just bear with me as I share some of these thoughts and musings with you. And I want to hear what you think. Let me know. Send me a message on Instagram at Lisa Canning. Leave your comments below this video on YouTube or Facebook. And let's just start a genuine conversation about what this looks like. So for me, the first thing that came to mind when I think of what does it mean to work for God, especially when you're not in a like a church role or a role that is explicitly meant to lead people to a relationship with God, is integrity. What does it look like to show up everywhere you are with integrity? And I think there are so many facets to integrity that we can unpack, like humility, honesty. How are you acting in a way that up front, but your actions in the back also, align with? Are you the same person on Instagram that you are privately in your home? Are you giving yourself in a similar way to your clients that you are giving yourself to your husband and your kids? But really, at the heart of integrity, I think, is there a morality that you follow that you feel good about, that you are actually living out in thought and in action? And so, of course, for me as a Catholic, what that means for me is, am I following the teachings of the Catholic Church? Am I um, practicing in the things that my, like the faith life, the richness of faith life as a Catholic? Am I praying? Am I doing um, some of the things that are in line with the morals of my faith? And go again, for those of you who are of a different faith, if you are a Jew, if you are another religion, are you following a code of ethics or morality where you can say, yeah, I'm acting with integrity, or no, I'm actually not? And so that's the first way I think we can explore what it means or what it looks like to work for God. And then the second thing that I think is really interesting in this conversation is everywhere you go, everybody that you are in touch with, are you making a contribution to their life? And so, what do I mean by this? Are you, when you show up in a room, are you bringing joy? When you show up in a room, are you generous? When you show up in a room, are you dragging the morale down, or are you finding even quiet ways to listen and comfort, or walk with people? I believe that we can make a contribution to a person's life anywhere we are. And I think about this often in regards to my children. So, I sometimes put in a lot of hours right here in the office, and my bedroom, that is my that is my office. There are days where I spend a significant amount of time, like right here, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. when the kids get off school, and it's back to back appointments. And I have to really be conscientious that whatever I'm doing during the day, when the majority of my kids are not here, that it still allows me to show up for them when they get home from school in the exact same way, or in the same capacity, the same amount of generosity and contribution I'm able to show up for my clients, let's say. And for me, that's a very challenging thing to think about. It's a very challenging thing to think about because I sometimes am really tired at the end of my day. And it's not to, again, like, discount or diminish times that we are tired. That's not at all what I'm trying to say here. But I just sort of think there is something to that, and that it has some connection to this concept of working for God. Because if we're showing up in one way to one group of people and we're able to be present, loving, joyful, generous, but then that's actually coming at neglect at arguably the people that, we've really been entrusted to shepherd and to lead, I think we have to pause and ask ourselves, what are some things I need to do there? Do I need to have more breaks? Do I need to have less work? Do I need to have more buffer? All those kinds of things. P.S. These are all questions I'm asking of myself right now. But I do think that this idea of contribution, and when I say contribution, it really is, it can be encouragement, it can be actual value, so like the actual meal I'm providing, or the actual space I'm creating, or the actual service, for my clients I'm providing. It's just it's just a really interesting thing to ponder. How am I showing up in all of these different relationships I have, and who's getting the best of me and who's getting the worst of me, and are we happy with that answer? So the second sort of challenge, or the second concept I think we need to reflect on in what it looks like to quote unquote work for God, is what is our contribution to everyone in our lives, and is it making their life better, or are we helping people to become better people, to know God, to know Jesus Christ? Are we in some way, either very explicitly by literally proclaiming the name of Jesus, or in perhaps not so explicit ways, but in generosity and virtue and goodness, in beauty, and truth, are we doing the work of God in our interactions with them? And then finally, this is one that I think is very interesting, but also related to some of the other, like just really related. Um, and I don't know how to spell it. Hold on. So, authenticity. Are we? So I just talked about generosity. Are we able to show up in a similar way that one group is getting, one group isn't necessarily getting the best of us, and everybody else is getting the leftovers? Is there a way that the generosity can be sustained? I think this is very related to authenticity. Are we acting the same? This is something that I've been really reflecting on lately. And it's just this whole notion of, am I free to be myself everywhere I go? Am I free to be myself with my clients? Am I free to be myself with my friends? Are there certain friends that I feel like I can't be myself with? Are there other people in my life, like family, like colleagues? Are there people who I don't feel comfortable, or I don't feel like I'm truly being myself? And again, to just be observant of that, because I really believe, and again, I don't think everyone is called, so sorry, let me pause. In a Catholic context, we are all called to share the good news of Jesus. That is part of our baptism. I won't, we'll leave it there. This is not I am in no way, shape, or form a trained theologian to launch into some kind of a teaching on our baptismal call or the Great Commission. But as Catholics, it's part of our identity to share the good news of Jesus with others, right? But so I believe we're all called to do that. All Christians are called to do that. But I don't think that we are all called to formally work in a church, for example. I don't think we're all called to formally be like we need Christians, we need Catholics, we need people of good morality in the world, like in the world as well, especially in today's world. And so, but it is, I am currently going through, I'm just being super transparent. I'm currently going through my own journey of what does it look like for me to be most authentic, most free. And I think where I've landed on this, it is truly when I am able to just freely talk about my faith, freely talk about what God has done in my life, and freely integrate that also with business. So, one thing I've been exploring, many of you know this, I have been working through the content of my dear friends, the Ingolds, Matt and Aaron Ingold. You might remember Aaron Ingold from one of my very first episodes of the Possibility Mom Live. I've been engaged in their coaching program called the Purgative Way, and how to essentially, what the Purgative Way does is helps coaches to become great Catholic coaches, like really integrate their Catholic faith into whatever discipline they're coaching people in, whether it be human formation, business, whatever it is. And I think I feel the most free when I'm able to remind people of the trust we must place in God. I feel the most free when I'm able to combine that with talking about wealth and what we can do, the abundant generosity that we could have if we built a bunch of wealth. And so, but in this lens, or in this authenticity of being an authentic Catholic Christian, that it all comes from God. It all is a gift from His, and it's all His work, even when we're talking about money or we're talking about business, even when it's not explicitly a Catholic or Christian program. In the end, it's all His work. And I think that's what provides me freedom. I think. I don't know, guys. Even as I'm talking about this, I'm like, this stuff is challenging. I see, Yashi, I want to pull up your comment here. For me, this has been a challenging thought. I try to think of it as me contributing to others, making them feel loved and inspired, being generous, being my authentic self. It's a journey for me as well. And it's really that last piece I think that Yashi just mentioned, this authenticity piece. Because if we are in our identity, we identify as Christian, we identify as Catholic. I'm starting to become more and more convinced that you cannot compartmentalize, like that this all needs to be integrated, I think, to be your most authentic self, meaning like what I'm exploring right now when I'm coaching. Can I go just really Jesus? Can I go, just really into that space of trusting that God has a plan for you in your life? And for me, that is when I feel the most free. And so these are the questions I'm pondering today. That is what it feels like for me to contemplate on this phrase. What does it look like to work for God, quote unquote? And I would love to know from you too. Does this resonate with you? Do you feel a similar challenge like you've heard me express? What does it look like for you to work for God? And do you also feel like you don't want to compartmentalize? What does it also look like to do that in a very integrated way? And again, I just want to, like, for the record, we need Christians, we need Catholics in the secular world. I really believe that wholeheartedly. And there is so much we can learn from other people. Obviously, there is so much. It's just the reality is we live in a modern world where we need to understand the language, the setting. Like it's just the reality. And so I believe that with discernment, if that's where you're feeling called, if you're called to, feeling called to stay like in the world, we need people of faith there. But what does it look like to not compartmentalize your faith? And as Yashi shares here in the comments so beautifully, I've tried to I've tried to compartmentalize before, and I have been miserable. And what it reminds me of is, again, what it means to be authentic. And just what does it mean to love yourself, to celebrate yourself, to be happy with who you are. And, we have just wrapped up. I was very blessed to participate and facilitate a 5-day challenge for the women's school. We created a 5-day challenge around comparison and competition that was really, truly enlightening. And it reminded me very much on how we never arrive, how there is always a new way to grow, a new way to experience healing and freedom. And I really believe like we have reached authenticity, I think. I don't know, guys, but I think we have reached authenticity when we really don't compare ourselves to others, when we're not really worried about what people think, when we are able to say with confidence and humility, but with confidence, this is who I am. It may not be for you, but that's okay. I hope you can respect where I'm coming from. I hope that you can be open to learning from me as I am from you, but that we feel like we truly can be the people we've been called to be, and we can step out boldly into that space. Let me know what you think about this episode. Drop me a line on Instagram at Lisa Canning. I would love to hear a review of the Possibility Mom Live anywhere you love to listen to podcasts. I'm grateful to journey with you every single week, and it's just a joy and an honor to navigate this space of authenticity with y'all. I'm on this road right alongside you. never be confused of that. We are linking arms together on this road to authenticity and interior freedom. And I will see you next time.